Hey guys, we are going to be doing another tier list because everyone loves these videos. And just like the previous videos, joining me again is Shadow Walker and Pika, so you guys can say hello.
Oh,
Hi.
Best introductions, best introductions.
yes.
And people, I realized that people struggle to tell the difference between our voices. So it'll be hilarious to see if people figure it out by this point.
So the one that just said that is Shadow Walker, so you guys can know. And
See, even Censor confuses it.
I'm not confusing. No, I'm not. And then the one that just said that is Pika. So, yes, you guys can know who it is, and hopefully, you recognize my voice as Censor. So, we're gonna get the usual disclaimers out of the way. So, like all the other tier lists, you've heard me say this before. This is purely a product for entertainment. Please do not take this as the Bible. This is purely our opinions, and this is mostly just an excuse for us to talk and or rant about units that have released since the last video we have done. Also, we have, because it's been like almost a year since the last video we did, there's been a lot of units. So quite a few units that we determined were literally not worth the 10 seconds to say they're bad have just been left off the list entirely. So you're definitely going to notice how many Shadow or Picos? Like something like 20-ish, 30-ish units we just completely bypassed.
No, there's more. It's like 30 to 40.
It could be more. Yeah. If we determined the unit was so bad there is just nothing to say about them, we just skipped them. We're not going to waste time with that. So anyone you see on the list, at the very least, is worth talking about. That doesn't mean they're good. They're just at least something to say.
There was at least 6 Tulian tier guys, so there was that too.
Oh yeah, that was like a whole this is backstory. We were debating if we should include Tulian or not, but if we include Tulian, we have to include all the Tulian copies.
I thought we actually decided to purge all of them, so was Tulian...
We did.
Oh, so,
we did purge him.
So Tulian's not here then. I don't see him.
Yeah. That's why it's definitely more than 20, because there's at least 6 Tulian copies.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, some of these units like Tulian, like, and then you have Tulian, Laguna, Yish, etc.
Ninja.
And
They're
Edge. They're all the same unit. Return Reagan, Return Axstar. These are all literally the same unit, just with an element swap. And actually, I said we skipped them all. I see Laguna on here, so Pika didn't quite purge it the way he was supposed to.
Also, I guess I missed out on Laguna, but also there was an exception for Yish because Yish was released.
That is true. Yeah, some of these
really
units are really bad as well, but because they're so recent, we decided to include them. Oh, and also, we were going to record this video last week, and then I was kind of sick, so we postponed it 1 week. So the current week units are not included, which are, I already forgot them.
FTF, Poppy, and Laswell in Final Fantasy IV form.
Yes, those 3 units. Final Fantasy IV. Yeah, Ashura Poppy and Ashura Lefty. So just for like a 30-second or a 10-second thing, all 3 are bad. There you go. So
it's so sad. So sad. Laswell's a direct copy paste too from his old unit. Okay.
Laswell should have been a skin. That's what it should have.
That's actually would have been a cool idea for them to sell like a skin. Well, it definitely would have to be a whole lot cheaper than the 20K banner he was, but
definitely cheaper. But it could have been like a 5K bundle skin or something like that. You know.
That actually could be a cool feature to add to the game, like really customized skins for units. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but they forgot about skins since like FF6, I think, was the last batch of skins we got. Yeah, they kind of forgot about those.
It's been a while. But as far as the unit tier list itself, I guess we will get into it. These units in this list is not organized in any specific order. Like the order is just completely randomized. When the sprites were imported, I think the tool we're using just sticks them where they want them. So this is not banner order. This is not power order. This is totally random. So at the top left of the list, we've got Yish. And amusingly enough, as I said, we purged all the breakers. As I think Shadow said, because Yish is so recent, we included her anyway. So who wants to tell me about Yish?
Trash tier. Next.
Next.
I mean, it's basically true. So she has terrible breaks. She's got 88% one time in the entire fight, and then it's gone forever. And then she's at 87%, and she can only even do those on her SLB, which is.
I think the only redeeming factor about her are TMR and STMR, but that's a huge stretch as well because the STMR is technically a spear with high mag. So that's about it.
It's not even that good, honestly, because I guess it is non-elemental, which is something to say for like Roberta.
It
or
also
something.
has Blood Killer, which is kind of rare sometimes.
I guess. But the unit itself is just, it's terrible.
Yeah, we don't read around their TMRs or STMRs, so.
That's true. And then we have Chow. This is a unit a little bit confusing, and I gotta be honest, I myself fell into the same trap where you would think that the best burst on this unit is his SLB. That is not the case. Nope. His SLB is terrible. Yeah, it's all about setting up the STMR and bursting with the quad cast Blazega or Blazega.
It's actually really good damage from what I understand. It's I think from outside of Cal, right? It's very, very decent.
Yeah, he is relatively high in the magic burst tier. I guess I can go ahead. I think I have a thing to my thing. I can pop over real quick, and this is just my spreadsheet, which, doesn't have the best assumptions, but I did calculate him with his STMR, and, he is decently high among mages, so, 5th highest mage with his STMR, so it's okay.
Technically speaking, it's the highest...
How many turns of setup, though?
I think it's available on turn 4 for the setup, meaning the burst is on turn 5 by memory.
I think it's technically the highest permanent ND unit, excluding Medina, because Medina has that needs the Dazzling Gleam card, and that's an asterisk, right?
Yes, yeah. This level of burst absolutely needs the Dazzle card to give her that enormous MP pool, which is where this burst comes from.
Cal is so confusing though, because there's so many situations where Cal won't work because Blazzaja is such a weird little thing. How many times can you fit that into a chain? Isn't it quad cast or is it triple cast?
Isn't it CWA? I don't remember.
No, Blazzaja with the J, the 4th tier spell, is actually a single hit finisher. Yeah, it's a quad.
Oh, okay.
And you would have to give him the Earnings Ring to quad cast, which you obviously should do because more damage.
You want to hit 4 times?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't her damage not too far off from the current premiums right now, from physical premiums?
So approximately 15 burst, and physical premiums are.
She's 14 bill, so yeah, she's still not far off.
Yeah. So, it's pretty high. Cow, actually, I was looking at the wrong one. 14 billion. So yeah, it's good burst.
I would say solid A.
I think she's A. Just. Yeah.
She's almost S, but I don't want to put her into S because she's element locked.
All right,
and the element locked.
She can't take her to Cal because her damage there is not that great.
I am fairly certain Cal is a guy, and you are both going take her, etc.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, he's an ice mage, and I don't know if anyone's done him for Gloomwing. Has anyone tried him with Gloomwing?
Well, here's the thing. This is a burst that takes 5 turns of setup for one round of burst. So you're going to get 3 of these on your entire Gloomwing clear. So yeah, it is purely Dark Visions. It is not for a trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel good about A. Maybe he'll go back to B if we go on.
I would say honestly B for exactly that reason, because trials are starting to come out again, and they're, I guess you could consider them the third content of the game. Dark Visions, Clash, and Trials. He's only good in Dark Visions, so I would say B. He's good in Dark Visions.
I think I agree with B too, because it's
okay.
The burst is 5, and sometimes in Dark Visions you can't even do 5 turn clears, right? You have to do it within 4 or 3.
Yes, there are some Dark Visions where if you want that perfect score, you've got to do it by turn 3 or 4. Or the boss does unavoidable damage or gains a permanent defense buff, etc.
Yeah, so even in that situation, you can't literally take him. So it's okay. I think that's another asterisk.
B sounds fine. So how about Ilmatil, the other unit that came with this batch? So she's.
say Immortal's actually a pretty fun unit from Aylin's side, at least to say.
You see,
She's a bit. Okay, go ahead.
I personally am on the other side of the argument here because I know a lot of people from like JP and even Global were like, 250 killers, this is going to make Zon relevant again, or you don't even need Zon, you can just directly buff you into 250 killers, such a big deal. I have never been impressed with this unit. Like, I get a 250 killer is really high, but that's like all she does. It is such a dead slot, and it's hard for me to get past the fact that someone like Sylvie is doing 3 different 250 killers as well, on top of 75 other things. This unit is just a killer and like a dead slot beyond that. And that's hard for me to get past, so I don't like this unit.
Hey, for a JP unit, she at least has more than 3 skills.
I agree that for a JP unit, she's not the worst thing in the world, but at the same time, in the context of Global, she's like a C at the best.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely got more use than like Yish, but not much more.
And also,
with Sylvie existing, like, she just kind of sucks so bad.
Yeah, it's really hard to look at just generic buffers like this the same way again. Okay, so we've got Ashura's Journey Reign, or whatever they're called on Global.
Okay,
F, move on.
F, and we move on.
I mean, this dude brings you a good STMR, a good TMR, and then he joins the bench, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty terrible. So
okay,
how about Emperor?
I'm kind of ready to defend Emperor up to a B even, but I'll be happy with the C too.
I think it's just a better Tulian, so it's like has to be C.
He is, and his damage, while certainly not good, is okay. Like Asterisk, I actually used him to get a Gloomwing clear. I used 2 Emperors plus Arin, all 3 of them together. Got a 15-turn Gloomwing clear, so it's doable, but it's not good.
12 turns. I think it was a 12-turn clear.
It was something like that, yeah. It was pretty high, but it was within the turn limit.
I think it's C at best, though. To be honest, I mean,
the reason I like him is he does bring a 35% Rod Imperil, along with okay-ish Spirit Breaks, and the highest Wind Imperil in the game. That's kind of narrow though, but. The Rod Imperil and Spirit Break, I think, can make him good on a Dark Visions team that doesn't want to bring, like, Aerith or Realm for Rod Imperil. So...
No, I agree. He has a niche. He has a really specific niche, and he does that niche so well, I'd actually consider him B.
Okay. Seems fine. How about you, Pika? You agree with that?
I don't have a particularly strong opinion about Emperor, though, so it doesn't really matter for me.
Okay. So here's Ricard. So this is a unit that people were kind of hyped about, but not for the unit itself. That's because he brought the Dragoon power stuff, which to this day has not seen much use yet, because I don't think we've had a Dark Vision since he came out, have we?
No, we skipped the Dark Vision. And next week...
Yeah. And they say also that they're skipping Dark Visions for July, so it's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, the what's it called? Not Vision World. Oh my God. Sylvie. Because Sylvie is bringing 100% amplifies that cannot work on Dragoons because of the way her autocasting works. You can't use them for Dragoons. It's going to be a hard sell to bring Dragoons, even Dragoons like Kane, to future Dark Visions fights just because, what's it called? They're not going to get that 100% amplify. And that's a tremendous damage loss to go from 100 to 45 amplify.
Mm-hmm.
So...
This is especially harder on Kane than it is Ricard, though, because technically Ricard's element is wind. So if in a hypothetical situation where we are wind-locked into a fight, Ricard is still one of the better options, and you would never bring Sylvie to a wind fight anyways. Well, you could. It's just her amps won't be like useful in the wind fight. So Ricard... In a hypothetical scenario, sees less loss because Kane's main element is lightning and light. Half of his kit aligns with Sylvie, but Sylvie's amps don't even work on them. So I think Kane sees a bigger loss than Ricard does. And this might be a bit of like a stretch, but because of that little niche where, again, this is another niche where in a specific wind comp, Ricard is probably one of your best options. I still think that's better than a C. Probably a B at best, but maybe a high C. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, no, that is a very good point. So for the final boss, you're probably not going to bring in Ricard, but for like a sub boss that is weak to wind but not thunder or earth, you're not going to be bringing Sylvie anyway. So that loss of Sylvie's amps won't even apply to Ricard. So that is a very good point. And yeah, the actual the unit himself, as far as pure bursting go, like he's pretty high. He's one of the highest physicals.
Oh yeah, he
on
hits
Global.
hard. He hits hard, and I think that's one thing that people forget when Sylvie came, is that like sure they don't have the 100% amp, but they still hit hard. They're still pretty damn strong. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What if it's B, or maybe, yeah, probably B, or maybe even A, but like, yeah, B.
I'd say probably B, because kind of like Chow, where Chow hits really hard in dark visions. I'd say Ricard is kind of only dark vision. See, he actually could do okay-ish, like persistent damage in a trial, but it's just not good enough in my opinion.
His tag chaining is pretty high modifiers, if I remember, and it could probably do okay in trials if it's.
Yeah, it's okay. It's decent. I think B is fine. He's really good in dark visions, but it's like locked to one element basically, which is very narrow. Okay, so Ashura's Journey, Dark Fina. She got major buffs on Global to her damage, and her damage is actually okay on Global. So
she has consistent damage too. Like hers isn't a burst, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think the one problem though is that her killers makes it so she can't burst on the turn. Right?
Well,
it's a one-turn killer, right? If I remember correctly.
If you're wanting to use her 250 demon killer, I think it is, then yes, that is only available, I believe, on that turn, meaning you can't use her specifically to burst on that turn if you need that 250 killer. She can do a 160 killer with multiple turns, meaning you could set that up in advance, and that'd be fine. But
I think for Fina, she's at least an automatic A, just because no other dark support exists other than Kryla. But then there's also the fact that because of her buffs, she still doesn't deserve the premium tag. That's her biggest knock. If she wasn't a premium unit, most people will be super happy to pull her. But because she's a premium unit, there's a whole level of perception that people think she suck. But she's not as suck as if we look at it without the premium tag.
Yeah, I actually think too. She's good in 2 game modes, because while her damage, I did calculate her damage. Her burst is relatively low, 8.7. It's like half of the big guys or less. The thing is though, so on dark visions, her damage is not that big a deal, although she is bringing all the buffs, which are a big deal for the whole team. But this damage is literally every single turn. So it is really good in a trial scenario, because while Dark Rain can do this once per 3 turns, this is every single turn. So if you times 3 this is 24B versus Dark Range 13B over 3 turns. So
yeah,
it's
and
really
I think
good.
with Trials returning, her consistent damage will be pretty useful.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to be getting the Belphegor trial next, which is primary weakness of Dark. And I think Dark Fina is going to be one of the top 3 clears on Belphegor for not for speed, but for easy factor. She'll be a super good choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's just move on. It was a big minor thing. Go on.
Okay. Hero Die. What about him? How's it?
That's Pop.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Pop. Pop is the mage, right?
Yeah, it's the mage.
Okay, this is the fire ice guy. So where's he rank? How's he doing?
B, maybe even C, because his damage is super niche, right?
Yes, it's very, very high. I think he is one of the highest mages. Yeah, he's the second highest mages behind the full power 12 turn Angelo.
Doesn't it take fucking forever to get there? Or I feel like you have to jump through some hoops to get to that number.
For Mage Pop?
Yeah.
Mage Pop just has that really weird dual element.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually pretty. This is actually, I think, available on turn either 4 or 5. So it's pretty easy to get to this burst. But yeah, that big asterisk of it is a locked to multi-element fire and ice at the same time. So that is going to just automatically disqualify him from quite a few trials. Not to mention, he's just like Chow. It's like a multi-turn setup for one turn of burst. That's terrible on trials regardless. But for Dark Visions, for the final boss, it'd be really good because, multi-element's not a problem. If a boss happens to be weak to fire and ice, it's fine. Honestly, if a boss is only weak to one of them and strong to the other one, it's still probably fine, because you can use off element, and he's only half off element, and his damage is so high, it's still going to outdamage someone on element of a lower tier. So I'd say it's a pretty good unit.
I'd say he's a B though. Even then,
I don't know if I want to put him in the same tier as Call though.
Okay, so you're saying C?
But I think C's too low for him.
But B's too high.
Yeah.
we don't have a C plus.
Yeah, let's just put him in B. It just feels a little odd to put him at the same tier as Call, because Call probably has more use cases.
That's fine. So now we've got Dragon Knight Brand, the Lightning Fixed Dealer in the base form, or the Lightning Mage in shift form. And his damage is very high as well.
I like him. I like him quite a bit, but maybe I like his card. I'm not really sure. I can't really tell. The
unit is decent. High burst, pretty easy usability. His problem is, like most real mages, just purely locked to a single element. I don't think his damage is as high as people hype it up to be, because, for example, did anyone see any clears at all on Death Machine using Brand? I personally didn't. Has anyone?
I don't remember him. I think I've heard people use him from the Discord, but I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm sure someone has. I just haven't seen it.
Is it pronounced Baron?
Oh, I have no idea. I have not seen the anime. If someone in the chat has seen the anime, by the way, people on YouTube, while we're recording this, there is actually quite a big viewer in the chat that are not talking. But is anyone in the chat? Is it Baran? Anyone seen the anime?
Knows. Cotton, have you seen it?
Well,
it looks like she did.
Brandon.
All right, Dragon Knight Brandon. I like that.
Supposed to correct Sinsa's pronunciation like now.
I think it's Baron.
All right, Baron. That's fine. So where are we ranking him? I say A or B. Which one do y'all think?
I say B. It has to be the same as Pop.
B. Okay. So we are just averaging quite a few of these units. But that's fine. I'd say the kind of thing. I kind of agree. He did have his Lightning Week trial. I didn't really see anyone use him, so it's hard to call him a trial unit.
B for Baron, guys.
The issue with all of these mages is that if you look at Sinzar's sheet, everything in the top 4 comes with a huge fucking asterisk. It's not even funny.
Yeah, he's high damage. He really is high damage.
Yeah, but everything from Angelo to Medina, there's some sort of asterisk next to it.
It's true. Forever setup, multi-element, single element, requires a specific card, multi-turn setup, multi-turn setup. Yeah, a whole bunch.
When we get to Dark, we can talk about garbage. Don't worry about it.
Hyunko. Is that how you pronounce his name? I don't know.
Hyunko. That's how we're going with it. So this is a magical tank. Magical tank that can also do respectable burst damage, honestly. So, how's he rank?
I am so tempted to put him at A.
A? Okay, what's your reasoning?
I think it's just because of the multifaceted use. We haven't seen a... Wasn't he the one that got a Glex upgrade?
Yes, in JP, his good burst required him to be under 10% health, which was a massive headache. I mean, it was doable, but it was a big headache. On Global, it's just permanently active. He only has the good burst. There is no weaker burst.
I know we don't like tanks that do damage, but this is one of those tanks that do damages, and I like my tanks that do damage. That's my soft spot.
I think the really crazy part is that if you look at Sinzar's sheet, which is, mind you, not every scenario, but he does the same amount of damage almost as Graph. who came with like basically a premium price when it came out. I was like, come on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got decent burst, pretty good.
I don't think he has consistent damage, but he still has some sort of like he's one of those
I
units
think
that you bring the DV for a good reason for
I
good
think
amount
I
of damage
think
as
I
well.
think he's one of those units where in DV you would bring him for convenience, but also damage, right? Sometimes you want to bring you have to, or like you want, or you're lazy to you don't want to gear your entire party and you just want to have a magic tank, but also does damage. So
That's fine.
I think
So you guys are saying
B or
A.
A. I would say B still though, because it's not like top tier damage, and it's not like these magic tanks are like.
Yeah, I think I would only put him at A if we really value the niche, because how many other magic tanks do that amount of damage?
I would say B, just because his damage and his tanking are two completely different builds, and the unit is SLB, meaning if he's built for actual damage, like he's not tanking anything that actually hits hard. And
Yeah, but he would still tank elemental stuff if he's a magic. Like, so you could still technically like make him 200% or 300% resist to a single or two elements, and then still damage. I don't know. I guess it would still eat up on his gear.
yeah, you could. I would personally say B. I think. Like,
Yeah, I would say B too.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
okay with this.
And then Haddler, the fire mage, who got kind of some hate for being the worst of an overall good batch. But the unit himself is not terrible. It's just that he's like the weakest of the six. But
So that's why he's going straight into C.
see, I would say C as well. Like, that's fine for
okay.
me. Like, he's literally just a damage dealer, no utility, nothing to say. He does damage. He does good damage. The end. It's locked to single element as well.
It's the one that Dream got. So
Me
we
too.
know what
Oh.
that means.
Me too. It's the only one I got. Yeah, I used like 25 tickets on the last day trying to get Brandon, and I got Haddler. I got one Haddler, and that was it.
Okay, the next unit though, we should probably put in a what do you call it?
Angela. So Angela is a unit I have been ultra sad about skipping for like 4 months. That being said, as power creep continues to roll along, I'm feeling less and less bad about missing her because I'm feeling like she's becoming less and less relevant, even though she is still the number one damage burster on both physical or magic. Number one damage burst in the game.
Oh, we should mention that she's only on here, even though she was on our last tier list because of the magic variance update.
Yes.
And that we thought it would be a good idea to retouch on her because you saw the most amount of benefits, arguably, from that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So wait, let me get this straight. Pika, you want to retouch Angela?
If you've seen her numbers for her pure peak potential with like the Esther field plus Sylvie amp.
Oh yes, like her damage is really high. The big reason, the big reason I'm not super crazy about her is because of the setup and the extended bursting. Like for example, I actually did like a sustained calculations. Her damage isn't even that good on trials until like turn 6, and by then, like Esther's already killed Gloomwing and Death Machine, etc. So,
I think she's personally, I think she's like the only unit but I think she's like the only unit that does like cow level damage outside of cow though, right? Because like her.
Oh yeah.
Her other benefit is that she's non-elemental, unlike the other mages on the top
imbuable.
5. Yeah. But the whole thing is that you still need to like go through hoops to like make her work. Even on a lower level. So it does make for an infuriating thing to level up, if that makes sense.
Turn 6 though, I think is also the earliest you can burst with turn 6 earliest you can burst with, or is it turn 7 without worrying about focus, right?
I actually did, like I said, this is a very very early page. I'm still like in the process of making it, but I did like a sustained damage chart. So like sustained turn 1, 2, 3, 4, turn 5, she's stuck in the base form because of the Brave Shift cooldown. And this is the turn you could use Magic Focus because otherwise what else are you doing on that turn? So you would focus, and then turn 6, you could do, it's still not at max modifier. I think max modifier is like turn 8. I think, or turn 7. But yeah, turn
Turn
6.
7, I think.
Yeah, so turn 6 is the first, like, big, strong burst, or the earliest. It's still strong, like on turn 4 and all, but, like, turn 6 is the first, like, where you're like, wow, that's really high, etc. So yeah, it's a little slowish, but not that bad. And then I think turn 12 is the ultimate max possible power, because at that point, turn 12, so you're stacking, stuck in the base, still stacking, then you're waiting on the cooldown, then you're back in the base form on turn 10, you focus, you second focus because it's a double stacking focus, and then turn 12 is your absolute max possible burst on Angela. Will be turn 12 for the earliest possible. But it's still really high even before that. So I would say either S or A.
I'd put her in S, honestly, just for the fact that she has the highest damage in the game. And it's not like it's... Like, turn 6, I think she's still one of the highest in the game, right?
It's still very, very high on turn 6, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I don't mind putting her at S, but I would just put it the asterisk that there's a few hoops, but yeah, no, I like it. I'm okay with this.
That sounds fine. So then we have Dark Rain, who does half of Angela's damage and locked to one element.
Half of... Yeah.
So where does he go?
Okay, the only thing that I push for Dark Rain is he's still the only permanent mage, other than Chow, that does anything in terms of, like, reasonable damage. So, I mean... Well, not reasonable. What I mean is, like, within the top 5. Because even after that, Haddler is limited time. Oliveira, you require the card, which people might not have. And then you get Nicole, Rain, and Zoma. Then you get to the point where it's it's the rest of the crowd. So I think Dark Rain is still the only permanent mage, and Cal. So the two, and he's only a 0.1 billion, 100 billion, like, away from Cal anyways. So he's still at the same level, or if better than Cal, just because he does it more consistently. 3 turns.
Mm-hmm. And he does have the 200% to every single killer, so he gears, like, brainlessly.
He's a brainless gear. So yeah, I would put him at A at the least.
Ooh, A is really high for me, but...
I don't... It's hard for me. I don't know.
It's like, he's also like a twig. Like, you sniff at it, he dies.
Oh, as far
but
as,
you're
like...
not bringing him to Cal, are you?
Like Clash of Wills. Yeah, you're not bringing him to Clash of Wills. Absolutely not. He's okay in trials. Like, I actually used him for Belphegor, and Belphegor is one of those trials that kind of damages your party. And, like, Rain was squishy. I did have to gear him, like, 1 or 2 slots for bulk. Thankfully, because the killers, putting 1 or 2 bulk items on him wasn't really a problem because he has free slots anyway. So that was fine. But yeah, he is very squishy by default. So you do have to bulk him up if the trial is a dangerous trial. But his damage is okay. It's not the best, not the worst. I don't know. So, is he staying on A, or are we moving him?
I like him at A.
That's fine.
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. Divine Beast Chow, who is...
Okay, S and move on.
S and move on. We don't need to discuss how good this guy is.
I mean, he is really good. What was he on the previous tier list, or did he come out? No, he came out since then. He's actually new.
He came out after, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk for just briefly for people that are tuning in, because they may not have, know about Chow. This could be for newer players. So Chow, the reason people were saying that, as far as Magic Tank goes, I think he is the bulkiest Magic Tank out there, potentially. Maybe Maeve is slightly bulkier.
Maeve is still tankier, but...
Yeah, but Chow is very high. Chow's got a great utility kit, tons of utility in the kit. Chow can shift and do burst damage. Not really, but it's like there is something. It's mostly the support kit. He has a full support kit, full healer kit.
Omni cover
with full uptime. It can be left up permanently. But the big reason everyone is super hype on Chow, beyond the fact that he's a great tank, is the morale gauge in Clash of Wills. With the counter build, Chow is by far, with no competition, the fastest morale filler in the entire game. The only one even close to him is Kresnik, and Kresnik is only about half as good as Chow per turn at filling that morale gauge. So
yep.
yeah, that's
it.
That's pretty much it. He is MVP in Clash of Wills and still is to this day. Even bosses, we keep thinking, like the last boss, the I forget the name already, the Thanator, dealt sickly high, stupidly high physical damage, and on day 1, people are like, oh, Chow's dead. Chow can't tank this. By day 2, Chow was the best tank for it. We figured it out. He still worked.
Thank you, Ronda. MVP.
Yes. So, Chow S tier. So how about Kane? How is Kane doing these days?
I think Kane has the same discussion as Ricardo, and we just drop him into B and move on.
Yep.
Pretty much. Every single thing we said about Ricard, Kane is basically identical, other than different elements. He does have 2 elements versus Ricard's 1, but that's not enough to bump him up, I don't think.
Also, it's one of the elements is Sylvie's element, so it's like hardly a contest.
Now that Sylvie's out, if you're doing a Thunder team, Kane might still be worth it. I have to do calculations, but it's a whole lot harder to sell at that point. But he's fine. And now here people are going to be raising their eyebrows like, how'd he make the list? Shadow Walker, defend yourself. Why is Furion here?
Okay, so EX3 Furion with all the crowns, with the Guy STMR, with the massage, with the Rolex, and a happy ending, Furion does really good damage, especially in a light team, and the wind team too. But because those 2 elements are pretty popular elements, it's still a very feasible option to take.
He only does the amount Hyunkel does, though.
For light, if you're taking Cog, this is a very, very good second option as well. And for wind, he's still a very good option because he can take on the not Sylvie, sorry. He can just be another wind DPS. And the only reason I bring him up, not because he's my favorite unit, but because with all those happy endings and massages and Rolexes, he's actually pretty good. Respectively.
Stepping into called bias. That's all.
Shut up, Foxy.
Alright, so where should we place him? I guess in B tier with the other decent bursters?
No, there's
Yeah,
a perfectly good letter for him. F is for Furion.
I think he's just so decidedly average right now. Like, he's not great.
I say he's fine. He's fine in B tier. The only thing I don't love about him because he does require basically EX3 and crowns to do all that on top of everything else Shadow said. So it's a little hard. A little hard.
That's why if you're a beginner watching this video, don't ever take Furion. Like, you're not going to use Furion.
Do you think it's enough to drop him to C?
No, I don't think so. Because we're not taking care. We're not the wiki. What are you talking about?
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Fledgling Warrior, also known as Warrior of Light. So this guy, I tried to use him in Clash of Wills last month because he actually has racial mitigations for the Clash's races last month. I still didn't like him, and I still canceled that idea because it's Ronda. Ronda just obsoletes physical tanks entirely because without that 85% mitigation, even though Warrior of Light is bulkier, that 85% mitigation means he's technically actually squishier. And
yeah, I drop him at C or F or even F.
I think I'd put him at C. He has that one niche of that LB Mal's Fire Boost.
I guess C seems fine. Like his kit, he has a good kit. He's got some really cool utility in the kit. He's got like on-demand, buff removal. He's got some, mitigations, resistances. He's got the LB buff, which is a little lowish, but it's still there. He's got a cool kit. It's just like he's not that bulky compared to Ronda, and Ronda's free, so it's like, what is the point of this guy? Yeah, C seems fine for me.
Trivia. I think if this was before Gloomwing, I would have said B or C, but
Gloomwing made her an A.
I think Gloomwing made her quite a bit higher.
I mean, I don't think Gloomwing did that. I mean, from day one, we knew she was the ice support, like the queen of ice support. We always knew that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Gloomwing is an ice fight, but that's not...
I feel like there just wasn't, even if, like, previously trials weren't a concern, but if we're, like, bring trials as a consideration in rating, Gloomwing is a pretty big, heavy, I guess, consideration. Since she's, like, MVP in that fight.
She is. And she is a decent unit. She does have 88% breaks. They're actually not full duration. I think by turn 9, they're gone. She can only do that twice per fight with a 4-turn Magnus. So that's actually, it's a whole lot better than the JP units having 88% for like 3 turns and then gone forever. Hers are up for 8 turns. But even so, after that, she's stuck at 85 breaks. So that's pretty unfortunate.
I don't think she's much of a breaker because she's a Swiss knife. She's one of those jack of all trades, master of ice. Like I don't. It's like the anti-Roberta. Anti-Roberta is so good at Roberta's so good at everything that we expected Freya to be good at everything, but she's not. She's actually balanced in a certain way. So I think she fits right into A. She's a really, really good utility unit that can be slotted in, and even has sometimes decent damage, but most of the times her damage is absolutely negligible anyways. Her STMR and TMR also make mages very, very good.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there's that.
She has really good gear. Her card's actually sort of okay. It's not great, but it's decent. One thing I will say about Freya is actually her turn 1 damage is surprisingly high compared to most units. It's not quite as good as Carton, not as good as Kaito on turn 1, but it's up there. And I actually used her on some turn 1 farming in Clash of Wills because it's pretty. I think it's like a 1,000% burst on turn 1 with turn 1, so it's okay. All right, Shadow's got to step away briefly, so me and Pike are going to continue for the moment. Golden Rizer, how does this guy rank, Pika?
I would honestly, my heart says S.
I mean, he has been used to rank 1 in both Clash of Wills and Dark Visions. He's got some. Actually, I don't think he's done a rank 1 Dark Vision. I know he's ranked high, but I don't think has there been a shareable. Oh, there was the what's it called? The Vision World. So yeah, I guess he technically does.
Yep, there was the Vision World. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he's had some rank 1 Dark Visions as well. I consider Dark Visions and Vision World the same thing.
See, me too. I think his damage, objectively speaking, at this point is rough. Because you wouldn't use him too much anymore, right? Because there's just so many better options. But
yeah, and I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it does feel like the last Clash of Wills, there were some changes that seemed like anti-Rizer. Did anyone use Rizer? Or I guess I should say, did Wanderer use Rizer to get a rank 1 last Clash of Wills? I don't think he did.
I don't remember him doing so.
Yeah, I think the last Clash of Wills, the changes kind of made Rizer unviable to get a rank 1 clear. And if those changes were as a response to Rizer giving 2 different rank 1s over across 2 different months, that means, well, it'll always be that way going forward, meaning we're never going to see Rizer in Clash of Wills. But if that was just a coincidence, then maybe he could come back next month. I don't think he's S tier, honestly, because S tier is like the best, and I feel like Rizer is like the budget option, but never the best option at
yeah. It was just for my heart and memes. I think he's B.
B seems fine because like B for budget. I like that.
B for budget, yeah, and he gets to be side by side with Furion, which is great.
Okay, that's fine. He's really good. Definitely had a few events to shine. Going forward, he may or may not still be good enough. It depends. But as power creep continues to go up, it'll be a thing. Also,
it's a little bit weird seeing him in the same tier as Kane, but at least Golden Rizer can sometimes benefit from the 100% amps. Actually, no, he can't.
No, he cannot. No, amps do not work on Rizer. Fields do, but amps do not.
Yeah, because it happens before his counter, right?
Well, it's not that. It's mechanically, a normal attack is not considered. Amps are specifically coded for skills, magic, and limit burst, and his normal attack is none of those. So that doesn't qualify for amplifies, which is just basically spaghetti coding, but it doesn't work.
That's so sad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how about Graf? Super hyped when he came out. I feel like he was almost a bait banner and a trap because
he was 100% the trap, considering his price.
The price, but even then, even regardless of the price increase and that whole drama, did people even use Graph? Like, even the first month he came out, like, Graph was just not a popular pick, even in Dark Vision. I mean, I know people did use him, but I feel like he wasn't that widely used, and he's definitely not used anymore after the variants update.
Hey, I used him, okay?
Oh, okay. But yeah, the variants update just kind of killed these Xenogears units because they did not get the boost while everyone else in the game went up. They just stayed the same. So
I think he does. His damage is surprisingly high with 100% amp, but that's about it.
But then again, so you can say that for everyone.
Everyone. Well, so I guess he's like C at best, honestly. But like, if we put Golden Rizer and Fury at B.
I would say C, just because he also is pretty bad at gearing for killers outside of a few specific races. Yeah, for like a dual element race, like, an aquatic bird, like, he's gonna struggle. Okay, Ibarra here basically because of the Magic Variants update, and I hear this all the time, like, Clash of Wills, Ibarra is crazy damage, but why does no one use her? Well, just like the other mages, there's about 14 different asterisks next to that Ibarra calculation. So, in the perfect storm of everything going right, Ibarra will do very high in Clash of Wills. But that means you need the boss to be weak to dark. You need enough whale gear to force double hand in her shift form. You need Dark Rain's TMR. You need enough turns to set up. You need an external amplify, an external LB buff, and basically, yeah, if you have all of this, Ibarra will do crazy damage. If you don't, she's underwhelming. So
Really, really, really underwhelming, actually.
Yes. So how should we rank her?
I'm tempted to say C or even F because she's only has that good damage in Chow. And in a perfect storm Chow, right?
Yeah, I would say C.
I'm fine with C.
Yeah, just because the next Clash of Wills is a dark Clash of Wills, and I did a theoretical calculation with the Dazzling Demoness card versus the Beast Insect build coming up. She can do good damage next Clash of Wills, depending on the mechanic. We have to see the mechanics first, but just
she's
as far
also squishy though, right? So if Chow hits hard, she's probably not a consideration anymore, right?
That's actually not really a problem, just because she doesn't have any setup at all. So she can spend literally every single turn in the base form, and then she shifts to the shift form, does her burst on the burst turn, and then if the boss is dangerous, yeah, she's going to die. But at that point, you already done your burst. You don't really care about dying. Well, depending on the fight, but mostly, yeah. So I'd say for C, like, she is very specialized, and in the right scenario, she's huge damage, but she's terrible in Clash of Wills. She's now pretty bad in Trials. I guess her base form Thunder damage in Trials is okay, but yeah.
I think Dazzling Gleam card is her saving grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does require that card.
Without it, she's really bad. With it, she's usable.
Okay, so C is fine. Wait, didn't we already do a Shura Rain?
That's Mont.
Oh my god. Okay, Reskinned Rain, also known as Mont. So, honestly speaking, I know very little about this guy. I know he's a bad tank. I know he wants to do kind of sort of damage, but doesn't. He came with a global exclusive vision card, but what does the unit do?
He's just Rain, but slightly worse. So we can just chuck it at the C.
I'd say he's F.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, okay, if Warrior of Light is a C, Mont is literally just inferior Warrior of Light.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, there is no reason to ever bring Mont over Warrior of Light, and you're already not bringing Warrior of Light because of Ronda. So, I guess there it is. So how about Knights of Grandshelt? Another unit that was super hyped. I fell for the hype. I went all in, got EX3, and I've used the unit once. Where do we rank him?
Yeah, I think he's in B or an A. I think he's but he's better than any of the B units. I think I put him in A.
A? I mean,
He's still the strongest light damage dealer. Like that's the benefit we give him.
I guess. Kind of.
She does. He isn't. I guess. Isn't Kane do more in his light form? Not sure.
Kane burst harder, yeah, in the light form, that is true. I don't know. I guess A is fine. Like he does still have that 450 XLB. It just feels bad because like Esther does more than that on literally any element you want. Esther is now 475 versus Cog's 450. An element is not Esther is not locked to one element. But I can already, give you the spoiler. Esther will be in S tier anyway, so that's fine. Putting him in A tier, I guess. Okay. How about Kryla? How did Kryla even make this list? Like, she's outdated, but okay, she's here. So,
I think we included her because she got EX buffs in between.
Okay.
And
she came out with Tiana, so that was.
The only thing is that her, before Dark Fina came out, she was the only dark support in the game, and her dark support comes with a bit of an asterisk. But even then, she's still a dark support with I think 6% breaks, 88%. Does she have 88%? I think she had
88%.
88,
yeah,
in a cooldown. Mm-hmm.
So from a JP perspective, this is actually a really, really good unit. But from a GL perspective, it's like a B.
Okay. B. Do we have any breakers in B? Not. Emperor? Yeah, I'd say she's fine. Yeah, because she does have the amps and, the LB fill. And she does have all the other stuff she used to have, like Perfect Dispel, etc. So, sure. B sounds fine for Kryla.
Laguna F, move on.
Laguna.
F, move on.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Basically like Yish. Like, it's unfortunate, but I guess kind of so. Bad breaks, no damage. He does do a gun in peril, but guns aren't a big deal anymore. So, okay.
Yep. Lefty.
This one I would say because of the future upcoming gear that gives her a 100% amplify, that would give her some use, but it is not here yet. So currently she does not have that. She is just a strictly inferior Roberta for fire support.
Yeah, so C.
That's fine. And I would say in the future, when she gets that amplify, B or even A, because 100% is a really big deal for fire. But for now, C. That's fine. That's fine. New Vision's Awakened Squall is strong. Like basically the same as Titus. Arguably slightly better than Titus because he does gear for killers a little bit easier. He also does an 87% defense break, which can be useful.
Isn't his weapon also non-elemental, unlike Titus?
Yes, correct. If you're going LEM, you can skip Titus's Chronicle, but that does mean he loses 500 attack. Squall does not have that problem. His Chronicle is non-elemental, so he can keep his extra 500 attack on any element you want. So, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I straight up put him at B. He's pretty average.
His damage is a little lower. I would say C at this point. Like,
okay, yeah, C. I'm happy with C. He's a cheap option. That's the thing, right? For most people.
Mm-hmm,
D for cheap.
Yeah. That is true. Okay, Louise. Louise recently got an intrinsic ability, which increased her damage significantly. That being said, it went from, like, absolute trash tier damage to still pretty bad, but a lot better than it was. So, how are we rating her?
Maybe C.
She does still have the really good support kit. That being said, I feel like...
She also has that 90%
Spirit break.
Spirit break, even though Kaito kind of replaced her in that regards too. So, in Chow, at least.
Oh, in Chow. In Chow, I feel like she's completely dead. She's dead in Chow, totally. But in Dark Visions, yeah, she is the best 90 breaker for Dark Visions, Spirit. So where are we ranking her?
B. I'd say B.
B seems fine.
Yeah, I think intrinsic ability helped her.
Okay. Merolith. She basically has the meme build with Vivi, where Vivi can...
so F tier, we move on.
F tier, move on.
Yeah, the damage even with like a whaled out VV, is still pretty bad. The problem is the whole triple combo needed because Steiner has to come along. If we had a realistic source of Reflect without Steiner or Rivera, it'd be fine because then you're not having a completely and totally dead slot. But having to bring Steiner to enable VV and by proxy Merolith is just bad. And yeah, bad damage. Okay. Mazurka, who also got an intrinsic ability.
Mazurka, I think
she's a C.
No, I'd put her on B, honestly, because Mazurka technically has the same amount of mods as Kane, I think, with the Ricard card, but she's way less stats, but she has the benefit of being non-elemental, so...
Yeah, she's, with the full whale build, she's got 300x jump, same as Ricard, same as Kane, but the problem is over here, like, very, very low attack power. This is like a fully whaled out build. With her intrinsic, it's still only 6,700 in, like, pure whale mode. That's very low, very, very low, and that really hurts her. It is non-elemental, though. So,
that's purely why I would put her in B.
Okay.
Because she's
I'd be okay with her in B.
Non-elemental version of the best Dragoons.
Ooh, this next one's gonna be spicy.
Okay. Oliveira went from total meme to actually really good these days. As long as Dark Element... I'm being serious. As long as Dark Element works, his damage is respectable. He's got... In Dark Visions, he's got... Like, not the greatest, but he's definitely up there as far as Dark Mages go. In Clash of Wills, he's insane. I expect lots of people using Oliveira this month in Clash of Wills weak to dark. It's really high. Now again, big asterisk. He very much needs the Dazzling Demoness card for these kind of numbers. If you didn't pull the Dazzle card, Oliveira would not be nearly as good. But also, his sustained damage is really, really high if you like entrust him or use someone like Kresnik to fill LB on your party per turn. His LB every turn build is very, very high damage for trials, and I'm probably going to be using him for the Belphegor trial coming up next month. So
Oliveira's also ready. I think you and I were like the two people who got him.
Mm-hmm. And his it's really good. Now again, he has the huge problem of literally locked to dark and nothing but dark. So that is also a big handicap. But I would say at the very least, he equals Dark Rain.
No, he's A. He's definitely A. Because he still has that. It's utility. He has some utility. So there's that.
Yeah, he does. He buffs immunity. He does mitigations, etc. He's got some utility.
He can also have that niche. Very, very niche there, where he steals people's mitigations and buffs, right? And then
he doesn't steal it. He doesn't steal it. If he has a mitigation on himself, he can extend that. So, for example, yeah, someone like Shadow Lord that can buff the party's mitigation by 95% for one turn. Oliveira can then convert that to a permanent duration mitigation on himself only.
Yeah, and then that means taking Shadow Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like a meme fun thing than an actual strategic ability, at least for the most part.
Okay, so for the next two units, can we just chuck them into S and move along? Because we know they're OP and great.
Well, we should say a little bit, and I'm not sure why her sprite is so baby tiny, but here...
Her sprite's baby tiny in the game.
Okay, so Paladin Sylvie, who wants to give me like the 20-second overview of her kit? One of you guys.
She does everything.
It's basically true. Yeah, so she is insanely bulky, 100% amplifies, mitigations to
250 killers.
250 killers, mitigation. She has like the highest on-demand mitigation in the game for magic and
too.
Yeah,
LB modifier boosts,
400% stat buffs,
100% LE buffs.
Immunity to everything, resistance to everything,
healing,
200% for some, healing, percentage-based healing even, meaning she can like refill the MP of units like Medina, dropping 6k MP a turn, she can refill that. Yeah, just like Shadow said, she does everything. Easily S tier.
She does the meme auto attack re-race thing.
Oh, exactly. Foxy said, yeah, she's the only unit in the game that can make you literally immune to death. You just cannot stay dead as long as it's an ability she can counterattack. It's broken. She's very strong.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you're gonna ask what Roberta does, she also does everything, but offensive.
Roberta. Now, Roberta, not quite as good as Sylvie, but pretty close. Yeah, so Roberta has lots of killers. She has great buffing with that 300% LB buff that I love and use it constantly. Spear in Peril, super good tag chaining, really high damage in Clash of Wills. And
really high damage in Dark Visions too if you take her as a jumper, but although you don't take jumpers too much anymore because it's Sylvie, but still, really good damage for support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great damage. She can do magical or physical damage. That being said, her magical Dark Visions damage is kind of like mediocre. It's good, but it's not like meta tier. But I would say she easily makes it to S tier as well. Mm-hmm. Very, very strong unit. Okay, so Angelo. How is Angelo? The dog.
It's Renoa. The doggo is S, but Renoa has to be yikes.
B.
No, she's still a really good dark damage dealer, isn't she?
It's
and she has the dark support. She has that
field. It's honestly not that great. The problem is she's a dual wield unit, and she is very hard to gear for double hand. It can certainly be done. But it's going to use a lot of slots, and she's not going to have great killers.
All right.
It's not
Chuck
super great.
Chuck her and see.
Yeah.
Only there because of her dog.
So Ronda, we talked about him briefly during the other physical tank stuff. But I would say Ronda's S, because literally best mitigation in the game, full uptime. He doesn't really do anything else, just to be honest here. That's all he does is mitigations, but I mean,
that's enough.
It really is enough. Like that, Ronda was on lots and lots of Clash of Wills teams this month because that mitigation is so strong.
And he's going to be also super popular for trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like he's just the best mitigation in the game. The only way to creep him is to just make more units do 85 mitigation. Okay. Snow recently got his complete unit overhaul. He got his entire base kit upgraded. He got crowns added that can give him like some LB damage. And then he got EX skills, which make him even bulkier if he's at EX2 or EX3.
And he also can equip non-clothes and hats, I think, now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's included in his upgrade. Yeah, he can now wear heavy armor, heavy shields, heavy helms, etc. He no longer has terrible gearing. So as far as bulkiness goes, he is a very, very, very good tank. As far as everything else goes, it's like all he does. Like he doesn't even buff mitigation for the party, general mit for the party. He does typed mits, but he has no general mit for the party. He has no real utility at all. He's just gonna tank. So
F.
B.
I wouldn't say F. I'd say maybe C, because he's bulkier than Warrior of Light, I believe. He is a dual tank, and he can't swap on demand, which is why I really dislike that. He's got that stupid cooldown to go back to shift form, and I hate that. But
I wish they changed that when they upgraded him when they brought him to GL, because Maeve is him but better, and even Maeve is not used often.
Yeah. So do you think like as low as F? Like I mean, because it's a struggle for me because like he's technically a great tank, but like if you need a tank and assuming you have every option, is it ever going to be Snow?
No, but it's still better than F.
Okay, that's fine. So C is fine. Okay, so Esther.
S. No, Esther's F, guys, right?
No, Esther. Yeah, she's easily S. She has one of the highest burst damage in the game, one of the highest sustained damage in the game. She's non-elemental. She's super bulk. Well, completely honestly, she's not that super bulky. As I have learned, as her spirit is actually pretty terrible, and it's still
you learned that last cow.
It's still bulky enough, but She really isn't that bulky, but it's fine. And yeah, she is incredible. Not to mention, in her shift form, she's a really good tank. And
Very good tank, yes.
yeah, S tier, very easy S tier.
Not much to say about her because she's just so obviously so good.
So good. All right, so Taivas, who is a fire SLB unit, and the end.
I think the same tier as Graf, honestly.
Where did we stick him? C?
See,
I
yeah.
think this is better than Graf, though, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, he has locked one element, whereas Graf is flexible. So,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm okay with C.
see, okay, that's fine. His damage is good. He did recently get his special armor, which helps him a little bit. Pretty soon we'll be. I think the next story update, Ronda will be getting his synergy gear with Taivas, and Taivas can actually do a 650x LB with Ronda on the party. But of course, then you got divided by 2, and it actually ends up being worse than Ronda not being on the party. It's more of like a more of a flavor thing. But
We don't know. GL might change that. You know, they might make it. They might buff it.
it would be cool. I feel like it should have at the very least doubled his modifier to 700. That way, or no, he actually has 380 with his STMR, so doubled would be what, 740?
Yep.
Yeah, so it should have been. It should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been 740.
760.
760. It should have been 760 then. That way, Ronda isn't a dead slot or isn't like a penalty to bring him. But you know, a limb. They don't really do math, so there it is. Okay, Tidebringer Kaito. I would argue he is S tier because he is.
I'd also argue he's S tier.
No, it's definitely S.
Yeah, so this guy, in Dark Visions, he's got 88% breaks and decent damage. Not the best. It's pretty good. As far as trial content goes, his sustained damage, if you can keep his LB filled, is actually pretty good. Again, it's not super meta tier. But then you get into Clash of Wills, and he, like Sylvie, does everything offensively. He does every single weapon in peril in the game, every elemental in peril in the game. He does 90 to all 4 breaks. Yeah, he is incredibly good in Clash of Wills. He's also a really good water support. He's got the 45 AoE amp, the AoE imbue. The imbue is a little bit of a headache, but you know, for bursting, it's fine. It's just not good for like trial imbue. But yeah, Kaito's really, and Kaito's also incredibly bulky. He's the start of where units start having like 40,000 HP baseline, and Kaito is crazy bulky, which is very, very nice in these recent Clash of Wills.
Yeah.
Okay.
not much to say about Kaito because Kaito is I think has been in every single one of my players in basically in everything from DV to Chow to even Gloomwing. I took him to Gloomwing, even though it was kind of a slow clear because of Kaito, but you know it was worth it because he has like 88% breaks on his LB that changed with Esther's LB, right?
Yeah. And as Foxy says in the chat, Kaito also has a classic meme, which I'm not going to read in the video, but it's funny.
Alright, so Tiana, we can chuck it to F and move on.
I'd say at the very least C. Like, her damage is in Clash of Wills is decent now. Like, it's technically decent. It's one of those, like, asterisk damages. It's, like, mid-tier, but it's such a big pain in the ass to use. Whoever thought 6 turns of stacking was a good idea is just brain dead. But
yeah. I think she should be C too. Like, she has half decent support kit and half decent damage, but at least it's better than JP units.
Yeah. That's if they ever take that stacking away and make her just deal regular damage, it's still like the damage isn't even good. This is at max stacks. It's still not even that good, and it's that I hate it.
But that's
Tiana is also known as Pike's biggest regret. So there is that.
Yeah, that's she's the biggest regret pull. But she also. Go ahead.
I was gonna say just me too. I also regret pulling her.
I think that she has really high. If they do bring her stackings lower, she has really high sustained damage for trials.
That's true. Yeah, it's pretty good.
She'd be one of the highest sustained damage for trials too, I think. For if we're considering the fact that we're like no LB every turn shenanigans.
Yeah, could be. Okay, so our brand new premium unit for the anniversary, Wilk. How is he rated?
I'm split on him.
Me too, honestly. Me too. Honestly, I don't feel he's in the same tier as Esther. That being said, he does burst harder than Esther in Clash of Wills. But he is clunky to use. His burst is very, very limited. He's only got one use of his Magnus the entire fight. He cannot recharge it. I'm talking about the base form Magnus that powers up his LB. He is super tanky, as the chat says. Yes, he's incredibly bulky. Like, he's not going to die. That is certainly the case.
And the other thing is that like his switching of STMRs is actually really handy because
it's cool.
That actually gives him like literally 4 different killers based on the situation, and obvious different elements based on that too. But the other thing is that his 90% defense breaks is nothing to ignore about. Like, how many other 90% defense breaks are worth bringing right now, other than Wilk?
For Dark Visions, yeah, that is true. For Dark Visions, he can do the 90% break and also do extremely high burst damage. Let's compare it to Dark Visions. So Wilk in Dark Visions, if you set him up, does have a 401x modifier. And the reason it's so high, even though it's lower than like Cog, is because he has very high attack stat. And the other one is Lara Croft, who is somewhere like pretty low. Like Lara Croft, her burst damage is really low, and she also has to stack longer. Like she's a pain in the ass to use in Dark Visions with stacking. So
she's half his damage.
Yeah, so like he easily killed Lara Croft for Dark Visions, 100%.
Yeah, and Wilk also has like elemental flexibility. I mean, Esther does too. The only thing that Esther does over Wilk is the brain deadness. Esther's brain dead, Wilk is not. But I think that's an exception, not the rule. So
also, I don't like the fact that his shift form, everything eats up his LB. So like, I have the same problem with Lara, where her good break and her LB for Dark Visions, right? You have to use her LB to stack, but you also have to use her LB to break.
Okay, but in a realistic scenario, like even in Glooming when I was using Wilk, like you have Cresty, you have Sylvie to fill LB like it's no tomorrow.
But like that's not the case in Dark Visions, right? Because you're usually taking like 5 or 6 DPSs.
Yeah, but maybe, but it's filling LBs hasn't been an issue for a while yet, so I'm not too concerned.
Okay.
Also, I honestly think that his clunkiness is worth it because of the defense breaks and the damage that he brings. So there is that. Doesn't he also have AoE killers?
He does. He has 200% AoE for a demon and dragon.
Yeah, which is pretty good. So
that's good. So you're thinking S tier? Like he's definitely either S or A. It's just S or A. Which one?
I strongly push for S.
S. That's fine because now that I'm looking at it again, like his Dark Visions burst while bringing a 90 defense break is like basically the highest in the game. We're not really using Kane anymore because of Sylvie, so yeah, like he is. So he's top tier burst in Dark Visions. He's top tier burst in if you combo it with Sylvie, then Esther is slightly higher, but he's really high in Clash of Wills.
He's technically, oh no, actually that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, S tier seems fine. So, Fina the Return, the holy buffer.
So, everything we said about Fina the Dark?
Not really, no, because
B or C, because she's worse.
Yeah, she's strictly worse. Dark Fina got upgrades.
And she takes a better Esper away from you.
True. So like B, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really needed some upgrades like Dark Fina. Like, they should have buffed her modifiers too, but that's probably why Fina got buffs, is I guess her sales weren't as good as they were hoping. So they were like, we got to fix this for the Dark version, I would assume. But okay. Now here's Hero Die. I mislabeled him before. So this is Hero Die. So we should have actually skipped him or stuck him in with the other Dragon Quest units, but oh well, we didn't. So he is a physical thunder finisher. So like while Dragon Baran is the The Thunder Mage, he's the Thunder Physical. So, I guess the same rating?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But I just feels a little bad that Cog is higher than Baran, because Baran technically does a little bit more damage than Cog, doesn't he?
Bran and Cog, let's check my calculations. So, Hero Die is at 14. I think Cog is actually, right under him. Yes, so very slightly higher on Die.
And also, Baran does both more than both of them.
Yes, he does. Baran does.
And they're both they're all elemental locked anyway, so.
Yes. So,
I feel like
should we drop him?
I think we drop him or either bring Baran up, you know?
I would say we drop him because none of these are really a great trial choice. Like, they can do trials, but there's just better options. They're not coming to Clash of Wills, and they're only going to be coming to, for the most part, their proper element in Dark Vision. Like, you can bring them to any element, but you're usually going to just stick to their proper element. Okay, so I'd say Cog coming down makes more sense.
Yep.
Okay, so here's our list. It didn't take as long as I expected it to. Do we see anyone that looks out of place? Should we move them before?
No, this looks good. I'm happy.
Okay. Well, there's our update. Hopefully the next update won't be 9 months away. But there it is. So, usual disclaimer, these are only our opinions. You may or may not disagree. Let us know in the comments where we got it wrong. But there it is. There's the update. And again, we did skip a ton of units that aren't included at all. We probably should have made a list. We could have flashed it on the screen, like these are the units we just forgot about, or we didn't forget, like the game forgot about them. But yeah, so thanks again to Shadow and Piker for joining me, as well as everyone in the chat that also contributed to some discussion. Anything you guys want to say before we go?
No, it was fun. Let's do it again soon.
Okay.
Hopefully a lot sooner, yeah.
See you guys next time.